Okay, so I'm listening to the newest So True podcast by Caleb Heron, who I just found out is 6 days older than me. And I really love him. I see a lot of myself in him. And this episode has Briston Maroney, who's a 26-year-old musician from Nashville. And oh my God, I am just hit in the face with the Riley vibes from this guy. Like, it's a common occurrence, but this was like overpoweringly Riley. And it's nice. The first few times that happened soon after Riley's death, like it really kind of fucked me up. But now it's like, whoa, but then like, nice, okay, and I'm just like really feeling this, and it's just a great interview, and I just, yeah, it's really nice seeing people that remind me of Riley, and it's annoying because I'm like, I wish I could show this artist to Riley, but in effect, what it's done is it's really made me feel connected to Riley, and it's really just continued the belief that I'm gonna feel encapsulated and know Riley as I go through my life, which is really good. So that's great. And then so I'm like listening to this podcast and having a good time, but then I'm like, oh wait, I should check out some of his music. And his biggest song is called "Freaking Out on the Interstate," and that also makes me think of Riley. Because one time they took my older sibling's car and drove up to Canada and crashed the car, and it was this big thing. And that was a bit of a freaking out on the interstate situation. Also in I guess this would have been 2017. No, 2016, spring of 2016. For spring break, we went down to Texas, Riley, my girlfriend Kendall, and me for spring break, and hung out with some of our Texas friends, and it was just like such a good trip. And on the drive back, though, we go from, where did we go from? We go from Austin all the way back up to Lamoni, Iowa, which is quite the drive. And thankfully, I'm a great long haul driver, and I had two helpers there. But so I drove at the beginning, and I think Kendall drove for a bit. And then Riley was going to do a pretty long spell, and I was just going to finish up with like a couple hours. But like 15, 20 minutes into the drive, like Riley was kind of freaking out on the interstate and was just not feeling like they were able to drive. And so I took over and I really finished up. I think I drove like 6 or 7 hours from there, and ended up driving like 15 hours in that day, maybe less than that. Why am I doing all this math? But I think about that now, and I wonder what was going on for Riley, and I wonder if maybe they were having like visual auditory hallucinations, and like it was hard to drive. And I'm so glad I was able to step in and help them. But yeah, that was quite a while before Riley had any severe, I don't know. Yeah, they definitely hadn't had like manic episodes at this point that we were aware of. But I wonder, and that's kind of a hard thing, but this song is really good, "Freaking Out on the Interstate," and I'm just going to give you the lyrics at the end because it makes me think of Riley a lot. And it's, "I'm sorry I haven't been myself, and something's got me down. What it is, I cannot tell. I won't be terrified with anything I've earned. Fear is just a part of love, and one thing I found is love is what you deserve." And that's super beautiful, and it makes me feel more at peace with my own fear. And it helps me realize Riley too, like at a certain level, the intense fear and paranoia and worry that Riley felt in them and experienced and caused them to act in certain ways that seem kind of hard to understand. It's so connected to how their capacity and the size of their love and their love of just the world and their love of the worst people and of the best people and of just seeking peace and harmony. And that's kind of hard too. Like in some ways, It feels like their grandiosity in times where they felt like they were responsible and in control of the world and had all these extra powers. I think it stems from how much they just wanted to be able to help the suffering out there. But then that came with intense guilt. They have all these powers, but they're still suffering, and it's almost like the problem of evil in theology, where like, if God is all powerful and all loving, and all knowing, like, why is there bad stuff happening? And then it's just like one way to start thinking about theology and breaking down belief. But I kind of felt like Riley experienced that on a personal level, and that's hard. And that's one thing that makes their, like, delusions of grandeur, delusions of, like, I don't even know how to say it, kind of difficult, because I wonder if that led into their recklessness, but it also, like, was just a part of them. So, as you know, if you've been listening to me ramble on, there's no answers and this stuff's complicated, but let it be known that Riley, like, one of the most loving people I've ever known, and like it just makes everything so much more devastating. But also knowing how big of an impact they had in the short time they were here is pretty beautiful. So yeah, check out Bristol Maroney. I'm about to listen to a lot more of his stuff.